At 72, Claire wakes up with a sense of excitement, not for something extravagant, but for the simple joys of a life well lived. She's not chasing youth. She's embracing this chapter with more confidence, laughter, and freedom than ever before. But there's something she won't tell you. Happiness after 70 has its own set of secrets, the kind no one talks about, but every joyful woman knows. And number 4, it might just change everything. Ready to uncover them? 1. Happiness isn't an age. It's a choice. Claire didn't always wake up feeling this good. There was a time when turning 70 felt like crossing an invisible line into a world of limitations. People around her spoke of aging like it was a slow fade into irrelevance. But she saw something different. Women in their 70s and beyond thriving. And she wanted that too. At first, she thought happiness would come naturally if she just kept busy. But something was missing. The truly happy women she observed didn't just hope for joy. They made a deliberate choice to cultivate it. She started paying attention to the small things, choosing gratitude instead of frustration, focusing on what she could do rather than what she had lost. She stopped waiting for happiness to happen and started creating it every single day. With this mindset shift, everything changed. She no longer saw aging as a barrier, but as an open invitation to redefine what happiness meant to her. The power of letting go. No more apologies, no more guilt. Claire had spent most of her life carrying invisible burdens, expectations, obligations, and the fear of letting people down. She apologized too much, held on to old guilt, and prioritized everyone else before herself. But the happiest women she knew, they had learned to let go. At first, it felt foreign to put herself first. She had been conditioned to believe that saying no made her selfish, that making mistakes meant she had to hold on to guilt forever. But she noticed something. Happy women didn't carry unnecessary weight. They forgave themselves. They released old regrets. They stopped apologizing for taking up space. She decided to try it, just once. The next time she was about to say, "I'm sorry," for something that wasn't her fault, she stopped. The next time she felt guilty for resting, she reminded herself that her well-being mattered too. And with every small act of letting go, she felt lighter, freer, more at peace. 3. Confidence grows with age, and it's more powerful than ever. Claire once believed that confidence was something youthful, something tied to beauty, success, or external validation. But the happiest women she met carried themselves with a different kind of confidence, one that came with age, wisdom, and self-acceptance. They didn't second-guess their worth. They didn't shrink themselves to make others comfortable. And they certainly didn't let society tell them what a woman over 70 should look like, feel like, or act like. At first, Claire struggled to embrace this. She had spent decades questioning herself. Was she dressing the right way? Did people approve of her choices? Was she still relevant? But one day, she realized that none of those things mattered anymore. She started dressing for herself, speaking her mind without hesitation, and carrying herself with the quiet assurance that she belonged in every room she walked into. And that kind of confidence? It was the most radiant, magnetic thing about her. 4. The shocking one. The best relationships start after 70. Claire had spent much of her life believing that the deepest connections were formed in youth, but as she embraced her 70s, she discovered something surprising. Some of the best relationships happen later in life. She had watched as old friendships faded, family dynamics shifted, and once familiar routines changed. At first, she feared loneliness would become her new reality. But then she saw something different. Women her age, thriving in new friendships, rekindling love, and forming deeper connections than ever before. She realized that relationships weren't about how long they had existed, but about how meaningful they were in the present. Whether it was meeting new friends through hobbies, reconnecting with old acquaintances, or even opening her heart to love again, she found that age had nothing to do with the depth of connection. The happiest women she knew weren't afraid to start fresh, take chances, and welcome new people into their lives. 5. Saying no without guilt becomes an art form. Claire had spent years saying yes when she really meant no. She had stretched herself thin, overcommitted, and sacrificed her own needs to avoid disappointing others. But as she observed the happiest women around her, she noticed something. They had mastered the art of saying no, guilt-free. At first, it felt uncomfortable. She had been conditioned to please, accommodate, and prioritize others. But then she saw the power of setting boundaries. She started small, turning down invitations she didn't truly enjoy, saying no to obligations that drained her energy, and stepping away from relationships that no longer served her. Instead of feeling selfish, she felt empowered. She saw that saying no wasn't about shutting people out. It was about making room for the things that truly mattered. The happiest women weren't available for everything and everyone. They were intentional with their time and energy. And that made all the difference. 6. Adventure and curiosity. Don't expire. For years, Claire believed that adventure was something reserved for the young, but the happiest women she met shattered that myth completely. They were learning new languages, traveling solo, taking dance classes, writing books, and diving into passions they had never explored before. They weren't living by society's expectations. They were creating their own rules. At first, Claire hesitated. Wasn't it too late to try something new? Would she be out of place? But as she took her first steps into unfamiliar territory, signing up for a painting class, planning her first solo trip, or simply saying yes to a new experience, she felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. The happiest women weren't just existing. They were still growing, still exploring, still curious. And in that curiosity, they found endless joy. 7. Your body is aging, but so is your appreciation for it. With newfound confidence, deeper relationships, and a growing sense of adventure, Claire began to see herself in a different light. She had spent years chasing unrealistic beauty standards, looking at her body through a lens of comparison and judgment. But the happiest women she knew had something in common. They had stopped fighting their aging bodies and started appreciating them instead. At first, this shift wasn't easy. She had been conditioned to see wrinkles, gray hair, and shifting curves as signs of decline. But then she saw something different. Her body wasn't deteriorating. It was telling the story of her life. Every wrinkle was a memory. Every gray strand a testament to resilience. Instead of criticizing her reflection, she started celebrating it. She dressed in ways that made her feel vibrant, moved her body in ways that brought joy, and stopped defining herself by outdated beauty ideals. She realized that the happiest women weren't those who obsessed over looking young. They were the ones who fully embraced where they were, right now. 8. Beauty evolves. And that's the best part. Claire had always believed that beauty had an expiration date, that looking put together was something reserved for younger women. But the happiest women she met rewrote that narrative completely. They weren't trying to look younger. They were refining and embracing their own unique beauty. Some let their gray hair flow freely. Others played with bold colors and styles. Some wore makeup every day, while others embraced a bare, natural glow. The common thread? They felt beautiful on their own terms. At first, Claire hesitated to break out of her routine. Could she really wear the bright colors she loved? Was it too late to try a bold new haircut? But as she experimented, she felt something shift. Beauty wasn't about looking a certain way. It was about feeling like herself. She stopped dressing to please others and started dressing to express joy, confidence, and personality. And in doing so, she discovered something incredible. Her beauty had never faded. It had simply evolved. 9. Emotional strength becomes your superpower. Claire had once believed that with age came fragility, both physical and emotional. But as she grew, she realized something astonishing. The happiest women she knew were also the strongest emotionally. They had faced losses, disappointments, and unexpected challenges. Yet, instead of letting hardships define them, they had developed an unshakable resilience. They knew that tough moments would come, but they also knew they could handle them. At first, Claire wasn't sure if she could do the same. She had spent years bottling up emotions, avoiding difficult conversations, and fearing change. But she started observing how these strong, happy women navigated life. They allowed themselves to feel without shame. They spoke up when something wasn't right, and they leaned on their support systems without guilt. She realized that emotional strength wasn't about never feeling pain. It was about knowing you'll rise every time life knocks you down. And that realization changed everything. 10. The joy of simplifying life and letting go of clutter. With confidence, emotional strength, and a renewed appreciation for her body and beauty, Claire realized that true happiness wasn't about adding more. It was about letting go. The happiest women she knew had one thing in common. They simplified their lives, physically and emotionally. At first, she resisted the idea of decluttering. She had spent decades collecting memories, keepsakes, and belongings that felt too important to part with. But she also noticed something. The women who had cleared away the excess carried themselves with a sense of lightness and peace. She started small, going through one drawer at a time, asking herself, does this bring me joy? Or is it just taking up space? As she let go of things that no longer served her, she felt something unexpected: freedom. The happiest women didn't just declutter their homes. They let go of old resentments, outdated expectations, and anything that weighed them down. And as Claire embraced this mindset, she discovered that simplifying wasn't about losing. It was about making space for what truly mattered. 11th, gratitude changes everything. Claire had always known that gratitude was important, but it wasn't until she observed the happiest women in her life that she truly understood its power. They weren't necessarily the ones with the easiest lives. In fact, many had faced deep loss and hardship, but their secret? They chose to focus on what they had, rather than what they had lost. At first, Claire struggled to shift her mindset. It was easy to dwell on the things that had changed: her body, her relationships, the passing of time. But then she started a simple practice. Every morning, she named 3 things she was grateful for. Some days, they were big: her health, her family, the love in her life. Other days, they were small: morning coffee, fresh air, the sound of laughter. The more she focused on gratitude, the more abundant her life felt. It wasn't that her circumstances had changed. It was that she had changed the way she saw them. The happiest women weren't the ones who had everything. They were the ones who appreciated everything they had. 12. Living on your own terms is the best gift you can give yourself. With every step of her journey, Claire had discovered new layers of happiness: confidence, deep relationships, resilience, and gratitude. But the final, most powerful realization came when she saw the happiest women doing something truly radical. They lived life entirely on their own terms. They weren't bound by outdated expectations, societal pressure, or the fear of judgment. They did what made them happy, whether that meant pursuing a long-forgotten passion, traveling alone, or simply saying no to things that didn't align with their joy. At first, Claire felt hesitant. She had spent decades putting others first, making choices based on what was expected of her. But as she started making decisions from a place of authenticity, She felt something shift, a deep, unwavering sense of freedom. The happiest women weren't waiting for permission. They weren't asking if it was too late. They were fully embracing the life they had, exactly as they wanted to live it. Happiness after 70 isn't a secret, it's a choice. Claire let go, embraced confidence, and started living life on her terms. And so can you. Your best years aren't behind you, they're unfolding right now. Own them, love them, and most importantly, live them your way, star.